Hi, Stan, and we'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're still waiting for some now members for. Can you both hear us okay?
I can hear you. Okay, what happened?
Okay, fantastic. Small but mighty make an announcement. What day we are going for? Okay, let's call the meeting to the Ward 2 neighborhood meeting for August 20th, 2024. So are we meeting over?
Yep, we're recording. It's up there.
Okay, welcome everybody to the August 20th Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting. It was small but mighty group today. I welcome our board members and all of our guests and any neighborhood folks that might be joining us today. Tyler, would you like to call the roll, please?
Yes, Sheriff Strickland,
Here,
Member Titzel. Here. Fisher. Here. Taylor. Here. Inman. Absent this time. Schomburg. Absent this time. Keats.
Here.
Dowdy.
Here.
Shin. Absent this time. Keller.
Present.
Madam Chair, number four of the Ward Two Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any public comment to get the meeting started this evening?
Madam Chair, I haven't received any registrants for in-person public comment. If there's anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Observing you don't have any members of the public on Zoom, so Madam Chair, we have no open public comment.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we're going to move to approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda this evening?
Just a note for the order, we'll be taking Nathan Uriot in the parks presentation first. He has a conflict and he actually has the Parks and Recreation Commission tonight, so we're gonna have him talk to us so we can get to his board. But that's the only change I have to the agenda, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we're going to swap B1 and B2?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, I'd like to move to approve the agenda. Do I have what do you want to have a first?
I vote to approve the agenda.
Audrey is going to move to approve second.
Second.
Second from Donna. All those in favor say aye. All right, moving to A4, approval of the minutes. Any changes to the minutes, Tyler?
As a note for the members, we have two sets of minutes slated for approval today, the April 16th minutes and the May 21st minutes. The April 16th minutes previously were not approved at the last meeting, pending some edit requests from some of the members. Those edits have been made, they're in red in your agenda packets. And then the May minutes are new to the members, so if we get a motion for each, please.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the April 16th minutes.
Second.
Do you have a first?
Oh, I thought you said you.
Sorry, so
I
anybody would
moved
like,
to approve the minutes for the April 16th meeting.
okay, thank you, Donna. We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
I.
Okay. Minutes are approved for April 16th, 2024. All right, anybody would like a motion to approve the minutes from May 21st, 2024?
Maybe to approve the minutes of the May.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a second? Yes, Audrey's gonna second. All those in favor say aye. All right, the minutes from May 22nd, 2024 have now been approved. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, moving on to item A5, council liaison report. Councilwoman Dewar, hit us with what you got. We know some great and exciting things happening.
Okay. Yes. Hope everyone's having a great summer. We've been having a busy council schedule. We've had a fair amount of long meetings and a fair amount of appeals. And sometimes we've had two appeals in a night. Audrey was representing one of the appellants recently on Ranchera, and there was another appeal that night. I think we were there till 11 or something at night.
My goodness.
We have another appeal this week on Wednesday, which has to do with the MB Energy wanting to put a power line through Stonegate, or needing to, but the discussion is about where on Stonegate. There was a path that's been analyzed for 7 years, and then they made a recent request for change. And at this time, the staff's not supporting that for a variety of reasons. One, it would lose 200 trees or so, this change. But there's other issues as well. It would be a lengthier line. So they're putting in a power line, and it would be lengthier and require, so more expensive, and that all gets shifted to us as ratepayers. So that'll be appeal. The same night, something I've been working on all summer has been with MB Energy as well. So, and for those that don't know, MB Energy's requested a fairly steep rate increase. There's two parts to the rate. One is called the base rate. So that's what it costs just to have power to your house. Right now, that is around $16, and they want that to go to $45. And then the other part of the rate is how much energy or electricity you use, or gas, depending. There's two different rates. And many utilities have what they call, they used to have these rates that the more you used, the less per unit you paid. It's called a declining block rate. And it was like giving a discount to your biggest users. And over time, they realized, no, the goal is to conserve, let's say, water. And they created these reverse processes where the more you use, the next increment is more expensive, and then the next increment is more expensive, so usually it's like in 3 blocks. And they found that with price signals, they could achieve conservation. Well, the way that NV Energy wants to structure their rate right now is to make it pretty, not just pretty expensive, the most expensive in the entire country for an investor rate, an investor-owned utility. So this $45 just to have power at your door it would be the most expensive rate in the country. The Bureau of Consumer Protection has recommended lowering the rate from $16 to $12. Okay. But they want to do this to cover a lot of fixed rates, the fixed costs. And they feel like this will smooth out rates, because if more of your rate is in the base charge, that means that the increments that you use will be not as expensive. But at the same time, it won't give your price signal for conservation. And so people become a little bit immune to how much they're using, because no matter what they do, they can't really lower their bill very much. Whereas in our current rate, the only $15, $16, you know, they enter more stacked into the use section. So anyway, they had a public hearing on this in Reno back in June. And I was the only elected official in our entire region that testified. It was a 3-hour hearing, about 30 or 40 people testified on behalf of various groups or themselves. I was so concerned about this rate increase, which will also dampen conservation. It will also dampen installation of solar. And I have 36 solar panels. I'm a big solar advocate. That I asked the city council to consider a resolution to also let NV Energy know we weren't too keen on this rate, you know, that we're not supporting. They came out with a first draft. We met with both NV Energy and some conservation folks, and we ended up with a second draft that staff did both. I had nothing to do with it. But anyway, the second draft was perceived by a number of people in our community as somehow, I'm trying to think of the words they used.
Watered down.
Watered down, but it still said we don't like it. And it still said we support our residents and their objections. So far, NV Energy's received no support for this whatsoever. It's been unanimous condemnation. And we wrote in our resolution that we support our residents and their objection.
Is it on the PUC already?
What's that?
Didn't it already go in front of the?
So the third section, which deals with rates on solar, went last week. There was a several-day hearing. I went to the first day. Can't speak because they're just dealing with their parties. So the people that are seated around the table that are interveners. So who intervened? Well, Walmart, Caesars.
Sorry, what does an intervener mean?
Intervener means we don't like it. We're at the table. We are basically suing you because we're not happy with the rates.
So an intervener is for the rate increase or against the rate?
Again, usually against, or they want a change. They want to have a seat at the table and they want their voice heard in regard to the rate. So, City of Reno was the only city that wrote a letter, or only jurisdiction. And this rate doesn't apply in Southern Nevada, but it does apply in most of Northern Nevada. So then, in advance of that, I wrote a letter. So before I made oral testimony at the previous hearing, now I wrote a letter. Well, on day one of the hearing, they mentioned that I had showed up and commented and I was opposed. So I was absolutely stunned. There was like 40 people that wrote letters, but I was the only one that was mentioned. Well, apparently on day two, they actually saw my written letter, and I wasn't there on day two, but I heard from some attorneys, this is mostly all attorneys, that I was brought up again. Because I wrote a very strong letter on behalf of residents of Ward 2, because that's who I can speak for. I mean, I'm the vice mayor, but that was what the resolution was about. This was just on behalf of my residents, which is most of you. And I also plan now to write probably either a third letter or a second letter, third comment, or an editorial. I'd probably write an editorial. And the next time, the reason I'm bringing it up right now, the next time this will be discussed where the public can comment is next Wednesday. So anyone, and I've sent out packages, so there's been some good news articles, both in the Nevada Indy, This is Reno, and a couple others. That, and then there was an editorial by a former member of, I think he worked for both the PC, he's a lawyer, and he worked for what's known as the Bureau of Consumer Affairs. And he was adamantly opposed to this as well. And he wrote a really easy to read, easy to understand editorial about what's not good. And if anybody's interested, I put a little packet that I've been sending to people if they want, you know. If you want to comment, it's rather challenging. So I have instructions on how to upload your comment, because it is, it's just about the hardest agency I've ever seen to make a public comment on anything. Harder than BLM, certainly harder than the city. City, you just put public comment at reno.gov, you send in your comment, boom. But on this, it is, you have to navigate a very complex menu. When you finally get there, they only accept black and white. So if you happen to have colored stationery, it won't take it, which we do. So I had to prepare a separate stationery for my letter. And then you have to upload, it was complicated. And so Suzanne Groneman in our office made instructions on how to comment. So if anybody's interested. Yes,
Yeah.
what's that? You want me to, I could send, Tyler could send out this email I have that, well, actually I did a Facebook post. So I linked all these articles, I showed how to copy, you know, all this stuff. So I put it into an email as well for other people, so.
I can distribute it to the.
Okay, if you have interest. But I'll tell you what, I've been very impressed. A lot of Latino community groups have been getting engaged, because people that will be most hurt by this are lower income residents. And this particular Latino groups are representing lower income residents. But they're also hitting solar. So solar people have been commenting. Community groups like Plan. And so I just got an email today. Plan went to the hearing. Do you know who Plan is? And Stacy Shin, one of our members, is a member of Plan. So they went to the hearing, and it was well known, I think, that you can't comment at this particular, it's like a judge meeting with the interveners, all these lawyers. It's not for public comment. But they, about 30 or 40 of them came down to Carson City. And when they weren't allowed to comment, they sort of got up in the room and made a lot of noise. And then they started protesting, like in the room and in the hall. I was a little surprised. And then they went out to there's like a hallway, outdoor area. Anyway, that took me by surprise. But anyway, they just sent me a text about it. I was surprised just a moment ago. And it was commenting on the fact that they were very proud to have it says it's so-and-so with Plan. Did you hear we disrupted the PUC hearing? Next Wednesday, August 28th, is your chance to speak directly to the PUC and demand a stop to this rate hike. So that's just, I thought I'd share because I've been working on it all summer. So you might as well know what I'm doing. The other thing I've been working on a good portion of the summer, second half of the summer, has been the wild horses. And a very difficult thing happened. One of the developments that's been pending to come to council, it's been getting deferred by the applicants. You may have heard over the summer that they closed off the water for the horses. This is the main horse watering area. And it created quite a stir. Myself, other people from the city, we all went out to meet with the developer. We got them to leave a gate open. I mean, this was going on days, and horses can only live so many days without water. So the horses were not doing so good. And they left open the gate for 30 days. The city, we took down some fencing that was blocking horses, not ours, but it was on BLM. It was put on BLM illegally. It was blocking horses. We got BLM to agree that we could take that down, so we did. We opened up an area of water along the Southeast Connector, land that we own at the City of Reno that we got as part of the Southeast Connector deal. And this is just a section of it. It will ultimately be about 6 times bigger, the opening. But we opened up a section as an emergency. And then part 2 of this, if that wasn't exciting enough, which was very challenging, it came time for the developer, they needed to put a pipeline across the property for Tumwa, for Daybreak, which is also known as Taos Valley. And, the horse folks were given some period of time, maybe 2 weeks to move the horses. But the gate wasn't closed and you can't really get the horses to get to point. They're not talking, not exactly like dogs. I mean, they're wild animals. And, when you say leave this area, they're not leaving the area, right? So it took some time. They had to cover cattle guard. They had a number of moving parts. They finally got all the horses out. Problem was, they went to close the gate to keep the horses out, but the gate could not be closed because rocks were in the way. The developer had not moved the rocks. So the horses came right back in. So what happened then was that either the Department of Ag called the developer or the developer called the Department of Ag, and the next thing you know, on Wednesday, about 2 weeks ago, I guess, Department of Ag came in and swept up 24 horses, like a gather that you read about BLM wild horses. And they took them down to the prison, which has a holding area, and they were getting them ready to auction them. And this, it caused the whole world come unglued because for 10 years or more, the wild horse folks have been working with Department of Ag for about 5 or 6 years. They've had a cooperative agreement. I've been working with Department of Ag. They didn't call me. This is land that's within the annexed city of Reno property. I was pretty upset because we could have just helped them. In fact, I did make arrangements to help them. So it became very dramatic. I ended up having to talk to the governor's office, Department of Ag. The end result was finally the horse folks talked to the governor's office himself on Friday. And the governor's office agreed with the, well, strongly encouraged the Department of Ag to not send these horses to auction, but also not to return them to the field. They're giving them, they're allowing the horse advocacy groups to adopt them and adopt them within their ranks. And that is per their agreement. I mean, their agreement says something along these lines, that these horses won't be gathered and sold. So there was a lot of running roughshod, so to speak, and ignoring process. So that finally got settled, and literally I just talked to somebody just an hour ago. I want to give Perry DiLoretto a shout out because he actually worked with the horse folks to help remove, not himself, but allowed them to come on his property and remove the horses. Help move them to different watering areas, and so that just all happened. Yes.
Is there any trying to look at the larger picture? I mean, this is gonna be an ongoing problem.
Right.
Because you've got developments all over, and every time you put a development in, there's a possibility of this kind of thing
Yes.
coming up. It's almost like we need a horse watering plan throughout the
Correct.
valley or something.
So observant how. So I just learned that on this Wednesday, the city council is gonna be reviewing a first glance at something called Title 18, which is our permitting structure. And they just sent out letters, the first time ever, 10 years, they copied us to let us know what's coming. I was shocked.
Wait,
Now
who's
it's been
doing
asking
that?
for it, but what's that?
Who is doing to review Title 18?
The council.
Councils.
So what they're doing, the letter was pretty explicit. It said that it listed some of the areas that they're updating, and one of them is the horse conditions. So we have 8 horse conditions. And so the horse advocacy, Wild Horse Connection is meeting with the planning staff to go over what's next with the horses. Meanwhile, today in our briefing, I reminded everybody that our master plan calls for all animals migratory pathways, which certainly going from this place to the water and back that's all day long, every day. You can't just disrupt this and just go, oh, well, so sad, too bad, moving on. You got to do something. And so I'm hopeful that when Bella Vista does come, that we will address it. And I'm hopeful that the city and their new conditions will address it.
Because otherwise they're just gonna do what they did here, which is they'll send them down to Carson City and then just wait to put the pressure on us. It doesn't solve the horse problem.
Yeah.
It simply moves the problem.
Well, it didn't really put pressure on us. What it did was devastate everyone who's been working so hard.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, it will come up on the canyons, which is coming back to council on Wednesday. It just went to planning commission. It will come up on Bella Vista. And it'll come up on almost any development going forward, because we're out of water spaces, right? There was a huge open water, so it's all fine until it's not. Once they close that up, that's all gone.
Where exactly is the water space located?
So, at the end of Rio Wrangler, there's a gate.
Yeah.
So just past that gate on the left is Steamboat Creek. That's where the horses have been
Okay.
getting water for many decades. The new place is if you go 2 miles from the gate down what's known as Desert Way, AKA Rio Wrangler, AKA Miraloma. If you go down that road 2 miles, on the left, you will hit Alexander Lake Road.
Mhm.
Right there is the area that the city got a piece of land all along the creek. Going towards a parallel to Southeast Connector
On the east side?
on the east side, on both sides of Steamboat Creek. Going for call it a mile,
Okay. Thank you.
okay? And then the horse folks also got permission from Tumwa to put a watering tank up by a Tumwa tank, which is at the end of Rio Wrangler also. If instead of going straight ahead 2 miles, if you take a right turn and go up about half a mile, there's a tank there, and that's where they just put another tank. And Tumwa's working with them to develop some process. In the meantime, they have watering trucks going. So those are probably the 2 biggest things. There is a third thing. So the city decided to update its business license procedures, hadn't been updated since the 90s. A lot of things out of date. They hired a consultant. Consultant looked at all these cities, America, and proposed a whole kind of, not just like an update, but like a wholesale replacement. Well, as soon as a business has got a look at this, most of them almost went off the rails. They were like, this is ridiculous. They had to get work cards and fingerprinting and, you know, pay in a different way and all kind of different requirements. They were very unhappy. So they've been calling me, Devin, our licensing people. There've been several rapidly put together meetings with the business license folks. I mean, they were extremely upset. Several came to comment at city council, but very, very upset. I heard the mayor sort of say we should just throw the whole thing out and move on. I mean, I think she said that, pretty darn sure she said that. You know, I'm only sitting 2 people down from her, but pretty sure she said something along those lines. And meanwhile, the staff will work very hard on this, and they're not trying to come up with anything that, you know, was a black, you know, punch in the face to business owners or black eye or anything. But that's the way it came across. So that's been a thing. And is
What
there,
was the need for the business licenses updated?
why?
Yeah, just the age?
They said a few things that were like, we just didn't even have that thing, or, you know, let's say just, this is not it, but let's just say new things get invented like AI. Well, you gotta like react to that or set up a system to deal with it. It wasn't anything to do with AI, let me
Right.
just say. Do you remember some of the things they said, that were pushing this?
Tyler Shaw Community, for the record. I don't remember all the specifics, but I know very similar to what Vice Mayor was saying, that they had been updated a long time and there were updated references to business types where maybe the name had changed, or there were some inefficiencies in the code, so that's what council was.
And is this, Roman Schomburg, for the record, is this the consultant's recommendations?
Yes.
Oh.
But the staff, were embracing them, frankly. I mean, they may not be embracing them so much right now, but they felt good enough to send it out.
Dave Titzel for the record. So, where does it stand? What's the next step? What-
So I think they're gonna have a series of public workshops. This is one of those things. Most average business owner, bar owner, restaurant or whatever, don't have the time or interest to go to a City of Reno public workshop on called business license. Why would they, right? Doesn't really seem like in their go forward path. However, when they get a hold of it and they see the very egregious things, it's got their attention now. So that's my understanding is through the winter. It's gonna be like a 6-month delay at least, where they workshop it, talk about it, et cetera.
What's your position on it?
I mean, I didn't read all these regulations, frankly. I mean, it seemed like an overreach, frankly. It really did. I mean, you wanna make things easier, not harder, right? That's a general move.
Yes.
Right,
Did you wanna speak? Do you wanna fill out a comment? Clark?
just actually wanted to ask a question. You said you were, erasing the staff, wasn't like laying them off or firing them?
What?
Oh, there was something you said about the staff. Like,
The staff, could you, introduce yourself?
my name is Ian Leckard and I'm here, I'm gonna have a lot of these.
That's
So,
fine. Well, we have different times at the end of each thing, if you'll just let me
Okay.
finish, as soon as the board's finished asking their questions.
okay.
Okay, so, I think you were mid-question.
Well, I just wanted to, if you're done giving your update, I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You're still updating?
No, that's fine.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you for, you know, your opposition and vocal opposition to the NV rate increase. I also think it's egregious. And, you know, I think that NV Energy, the way we pay them is, it's not in line with, you know, with what how they should be paid. I think they should be paid with performance-based regulations where, you know, they're paid for, you know, sustainability, they're paid for reliability, they're paid for reducing costs. Right now, you know, the more they build, the more they get paid.
Yes,
And I think we need to look at that because basically NV Energy's incentive structure is set up with the way they're getting paid. So
Yeah.
they're doing exactly what they should be doing to make the most money.
Yeah.
We need to change those incentives because they're a regulated monopoly. So we need to set the regulations in line with the public good, not in line with their bottom line.
correct. Well, additionally, because they are a regulated monopoly, they're guaranteed a rate of return. So let's say Mimi has a business here, it could go up and down month to month. She's not guaranteed that every month she'll make 10% on whatever she does.
But she's coming to us and saying, I'm not happy with 9%, I want to make 10%.
Well, that actually was what I was just about to add. That in addition to everything I talked about restructuring the rate, they want to make more money. So right now they make 8% on one section and some other percent on another section. They want to increase both of those returns. I'm like, why? I wrote that in my letter too, like, just because, like, you're already making a fine return.
Yeah, Roman Schomburg for the record, also to add to what David said, as a regulated monopoly, they're also an investor-owned company.
Yes.
And, I would think the conversation should, include the rest of the investor portfolio and why all of a sudden they need to increase their rate year over year.
Yeah,
And, just to add that it is investor-owned and that, they are basically gifted a guaranteed rate of return like David
I
said.
think it's egregious.
day in, day out, we're using power, they're making a income. And the other thing is that, what you were saying, Roman, about the investor-owned utility, they do not like rooftop solar.
No.
They've made it very clear. They want big solar things
They
that
don't
have,
want community solar.
great, no, but they're completely opposed. They've made it clear
Yeah.
in a lot of things they've written. And the fact that they don't want to do it, and they've made it incredibly difficult to do it. I mean, we just had one of the secretaries of commerce, I think it was, came in with one of our senators, as I recall. And we were in a meeting and they said, I just have to comment, like I flew in, I hardly saw any rooftop solar. And they were shocked. And that is because ME Energy has made it incredibly difficult to do it. Very difficult. I mean, it took everything I had to do it in 2011. So I wrote that in my letter too, is that it should be a wide ranging portfolio of all alternatives, whether it's wind. There could be large scale solar, but there needs to be, we have all these roofs. They're already built. We already have all this impervious. Why not make it work for us?
Exactly, instead of building in the desert,
Right,
you know, and ruining pristine desert.
Correct.
That's built on
And,
already disturbed land.
My
Right.
understanding is that in order for them to comply with their sustainable or renewable energy standards, other rate increases are built into that to pay for the larger solar projects. Is that
My understanding was they borrowed a lot of money from themselves. And they want to like pay it back, and again, they didn't have to.
Right.
So anyway, you'll get my
Yeah.
thing, I'll send it out hopefully tomorrow. I'll update a little and send it to you with the instructions on how to comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, it doesn't just say we don't like it, but say what you just said about the solar, or say what you just said about the, everybody doesn't have to comment on everything, so. Yeah,
So-
How-
Yeah, I'll tell you for the record. The other thing too is whenever you're making these comments, if you simply say, I don't like it, or I'm mad, that's not gonna accomplish anything. You really need to start thinking in terms of alternatives you can put on the table. A, that they can consider, B, so that the public knows there actually are alternatives that might work. Now, that may not be in your wheelhouse in terms of expertise, but again, there are community groups who've been studying these for a long time. Get involved in your community groups.
Yeah.
Because just saying no
Yeah.
simply gets your comment put from this pile to this pile.
Yeah.
Saying no, but look what we've got, look at the advantage we can have for Reno and for citizens. That's the way you at least get the discussion going.
Well, and I did make several recommendations on changing things. I said, I know this is not good, but here's a different way, including, going with rooftop solar and why that's important. Each thing I tried to say, here's what I don't like, and here's 2 sentences about what I think you should do instead. I've gotten some good feedback on my letter. I mean, it didn't take me a week. It took me about a night, and it's always good to have a little more time. So it could have maybe been a little bit better, but might not get an A, might get a B plus, but it was good enough to get the attention of people there. And, here's the part I meant to tell you too. I'm very sad. There's a thing that works in the universe. And, when I say it, you will most all recognize it. It's called no good deed goes unpunished. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Okay. And what that means is you're trying to do something good, and often you end up becoming, the center of the story. This is what's happened with me. I am the only one who commented at the hearing. I am the only elected who wrote a letter. I got our city to do this. I have been written on Facebook, Instagram, on media that I keep getting letters. Shame on you, Naomi. How dare you? Meaning, there was this one quote that they sort of took out of context, and it says, look, I understand everyone deserves a rate of return on their investment. That's the quote they wrote. From that, they thought I was supporting MD Energy. So I have been getting letter after letter, posts. I just got some on LinkedIn. From 2 weeks ago, I just saw it, and it said, again, shame on you. How dare you? And I'm just like, okay, all right. And I said,
I'm the only one who went to the meeting.
if you send me your email, I'll send you my letter. And, so that's why I'm thinking of writing an editorial, because I have been castigated. I have become like the center of like, I'm supporting MB Energy in this rate increase.
I think you need to do that.
What's that?
You need to do that.
I'm getting tired of it, but yes, I do. Because and I'm gonna try to do it probably tomorrow. Because I have a little time tomorrow, and the next hearing's not till next Wednesday. I'm just getting real, but I want it in everything. I want it, and this is Reno, Nevada in the Reno Gazette Journal. I mean, I'm literally getting castigated by all these folks, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's for the record. I.
We better go.
also-
Yeah,
I
thank you.
accepted that too, because I thought you were in favor of watering down the letter to work with MB Energy because they're on the sustainability thing. And I think you just, the city should have plainly said what they wanted
Would have
instead
been
of that roundabout way that they ended up.
They went a little roundabout, yeah. Okay,
Thank you for all those updates.
Yes, thank you.
you bet.
Thank you.
Now, yes, sir. You had a comment.
It was about the golf courses and the staff. You said you were like writing letters and there was or like staffing or erasing them, or could you please repeat
Yeah,
the word you said?
well, I don't think I said anything about staff writing letters.
Okay.
What I don't think any letters have been written. I mean, a lot of people have written letters to the governor. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
That they want the horses back. They're very mad at the Nevada Department of Agriculture, very mad at the governor's office. People are generally very mad. I haven't heard of any letters, but I've only received one copy of one that went to the governor that said, completely opposed. It was a whole different group than the one that we've been working with. So I think you might have misheard me.
Okay. And for the record, will all the comments and minutes for this meeting be available?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we just approved the minutes from last meeting.
The recording for this meeting will also be available on the city's YouTube page. If you look up City of Reno YouTube, it has all the neighborhood advisory board meetings. This meeting should be added sometime tomorrow or the day after.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thanks, Ian. Okay, back to you, Mimi.
Thank you so much.
It's been an interesting summer. What can I say?
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment, right?
All right, we're gonna move on to item A6, staff liaison report. Tyler.
Hi, everyone. Tyler Shaw, liaison for the record. I have two updates for you this month. First, the next Ward 2 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting is September 17th at 5:30 p.m. here at the Moore Nursery Seminar Room or by Zoom. So mark your calendars. And then my second update is bittersweet. I have accepted a position with the City of Reno as the agenda manager. So I'll be transitioning out of the community liaison role into the agenda manager role. I'm very excited, but it will mean that I won't be here at the NAB anymore. We're working on the transition timeline, so stay tuned, but I'll probably be here next month. But just wanted to let you all know.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very excited.
Congratulations, and I just have a question. What does an agenda manager do?
So the agenda manager is responsible for creating the council agenda, the city council agenda. So tracking down staff reports and helping people make sure they're getting their ideas across. And then also posting all of the board and commission agendas for the city of Reno and making sure that we're in compliance with the Nevada open meeting law.
Oh, congratulations. And
Thanks.
It's a big position.
Don, you also those send out with the NABs or the commissions?
Yeah, so the agenda manager also sends out notices to council members and to people in the city and people outside of the meetings. So about council meetings, about board and commission meetings, and
So like historic resources? Or
yeah,
any of them?
yeah, any City of Reno board, I'll get the agenda and I'll read it, make sure it's compliant with open meeting law and post it accordingly.
I'm assuming next month we'll be meeting your replacement.
Yes, I don't know. We're still working on the timeline, so hopefully soon.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Congratulations again. It's exciting.
What are the requirements to do your job?
They're gonna be posting it on the city's website. If you go to reno.gov/jobs, you should see it in probably the next couple of weeks.
And your job is?
I'm a community liaison.
Your staff is keeping us in line.
That is the end of my update, Madam Chair, and if you're ready, we can move to Nathan.
Yes, we're gonna move to the business items. B2, information presentation regarding capital improvements and program in the Ward 2 parks. Who's gonna be presenting today?
We've got our Parks Director, Nathan, go ahead.
Hi, Nathan. Welcome to the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for suffering the movement of the agenda item up for me so I can get in the Rec and Parks Commission meeting. It's been a whirlwind tour, but I did want to get all the NABs and update of what's going on in the different wards from a capital improvement and capital maintenance plan portion for parks. So with that, I'll get started. Tyler, can you advance for me? I think an important thing, and I'm not sure a lot of our residents know, residential construction tax is what funds a lot of park improvements based on the increased development around town. It was created many, many years ago, but the last substantive change as a funding mechanism occurred in 1987. So there's some statistics there about the average listing price in 1987. And in 1995, we reached 100K as an average listing price. And so that effectively topped out the amount of funding that came in to develop parks. Some other things that are important is that they're area or district restricted, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They're allowed for new construction or to improve or expand park and amenities. But what we can't do is maintenance. We can't do, slide replacements. We could replace a whole playground and improve the entire playground, but we can't just do a part of it. We can't just do lawn maintenance and things like that or ongoing maintenance. We also can't build facilities or pools with it. So like Moana was not a viable recipient of this type of funding. It's just how it's laid out in NRS. That's pretty consistent across the states where facilities are difficult to fund through development. That needs to be a kind of citizen choice and council choice. And it also doesn't allow us to build parks more than 25 acres. So this was originally designed to be a kind of a neighborhood park builder. So as a neighborhood or a planned community comes out of the ground, this would build the park that's around and usable for that facility or that development. Next slide. So a little bit more statistics here. So since 1990, you can see we've added a ton of facilities and spaces. Back in 1990, the average cost to develop a park acre might be $55,000. There's an example we'll show later. And again, the median price was quite a bit lower for housing. And now, if you fast forward to 2023, that price per acre is significantly higher, almost 7 times higher. And that median price of housing has gone up quite significantly too. So no real secret, houses are more expensive and are more valuable than ever. It's also very expensive to develop the parks, but since 1987, they haven't changed the amount of funding that comes from that new development to support the park system. So next slide. So this is a graph. I'm not sure how well you can see it. I'm not sure what monitor you have there, but it's just an example of in 1987, would have took 1,700 homes approximately to develop 31 acres. And then fast forward to today, a park in my last space cost, it cost $9 million to develop, $7.5 million to develop 10 acres. So 7,400 roofs would need to be built in order to build a 9 to 10 acre park if we're going to develop it with amenities today. So again, just an example of how expensive it is. I know that I'm really beating this drum. I think it's important that people know where we're at. Next one. Here's another list. I won't read everything to you, but it's just an example of the cost per acre that it takes to build facilities. Cyan Park, phase 1 and phase 2, is kind of the last example where we've really built a park from RCT or primarily RCT. And you can see the cost per there. And really once we got into COVID, those prices accelerated again. So the first phase gives you an example that it wasn't very much space. So just starting a project has a significantly higher rate per acre. Whereas you can see what we were able to do after that initial phase and add quite a bit of amenities at a lower cost per acre. Once we have some of the earthwork done, parking lots, things like that. So next slide, please. This is a balance of our current RCT districts. They're not aligned by wards. So Ward 2 is mostly a part of the District 4 development space, where it's a lot of South Reno, a lot of Southeast Reno. It's basically east of Virginia, going along the kind of spine of Virginia and then to the east. So it does cross over into Ward 3. There's a little bit of funding sharing there, which you'll see on our next couple of slides where we talk about projects that'll be going as a part of that District 4 allocation. So it makes sense that pot's significantly higher since there's been an absolute ton of growth down in Ward 2. Next slide, please. So here's some of the larger projects we're going to be working on over the next year to 18 months, depending on construction schedules and things like that. Of note, Double Diamond, which I have a little map and I'll show later, is going to be a significant focus. That's kind of, we put Ward 2 and 3 because it's literally on the border. If you cross the street, you're in Ward 3 in the east side. So I'll show that on a map shortly. But that's in District 4. Wilkinson Park is getting some significant upgrades, which is in Ward 3, but it's in District 4 on the RCT. Sorry, it's jumping around with the numbers, but I'm hoping that's making sense. Mira Loma is also in District 4, but happens to be in Ward 3 on the residential construction tax districts. So next slide. Some significant work we're working on in DeMonte Ranch, which had some significant challenges as a park that was designed through the development process and kind of turned over as a turnkey park to the city. And so we're making some needed corrections to the turf amount and things like that. There's a lot of turf. There's not a lot of capacity to water the turf. So we're putting in some amenities that, while it's not turf and it's not grass, will hopefully add to the usefulness of the park and allow us to be a lot better at what turf is remaining there. So one of those things is some concrete repairs and adding in some concrete to create a little better patio area for the shelter there. And then we're also adding a fitness court, which I'll show you later. You may have already heard about the fitness courts, but if not, I'll show you a little video shortly that kind of explains what those are. We're also working around the city, as you'll see, for playground surface replacements, shade structure installations, and also sorry, there's one other one, repairs for and controller upgrades for our irrigation system, which if those are working well, then our staffing capacity goes a lot further. All right, next. This is just a map. The shades are the different wards, and right there in the center, you can see Double Diamond Park. And so we're going to be doing a lot of those improvements in Double Diamond to bring that into a more, I guess, usable and diverse operation for a park. There'll be a shelter, a playground, a lot of benches, some trail and path improvements, which will kind of round out that park and be a space that'll be a great space for the community in South Reno. And it really does, again, cross over into Ward 3. So we wanted to make sure that we're getting input. We'll be coming back for input from NAB 2 and from our Rec and Parks Commission, but then also for NAB 3, since a lot of those residents will utilize that as their kind of community park there.
Nathan, just a comment on that. Both the area in orange and purple are gonna, I believe, become part of Ward 2 in November.
That's a great point. Great point.
So Cyan is gonna become part of Ward 2.
Okay, great point. Yes. It seems like that got decided so long ago. I kind of forgot about that. So bringing it back. Thank you for bringing that forward. All right, next slide. And so this, I just wanted to share a quick video here about the National Fitness Campaign fitness court. We wanted to limit just putting in straight concrete and taking things out of the turf there at DeMonte Ranch Park. And so this video, if it works, if it doesn't work, Tyler.
It'll work. I
Like
just
it
have
works.
to.
Okay. This it's a usable space, but it also helps us with that turf capacity and improving that turf capacity. So we'll watch that. It's about 1.5 minutes. And then we'll get to the last slide.
1 second, that's a little loud.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to assume you could hear that. It didn't come across on mine, or was there no audio?
There was
There
audio.
was audio.
Okay, it didn't come across your mind. So apologies if I reiterate what they said, but it's the fitness court really allows for an activation of a space it's very durable. It's very easy to repair and replace the items if they're damaged, but it's very difficult to damage them. I've had one in Arizona in my last position where we've had it since 2019, and occasionally we have to replace the rings because the kids love to swing on them and things like that. But, and then some of the decals will need to be replaced from time to time, but very durable, very affordable. And if you compare it to a playground, it's, about 1/3 of the cost of a playground. And it offers a ton of fitness amenities. It's got a great application that works on your phone, Apple Watch or smartwatch, that can take you through the workout, can keep your time, and it even competes for other people who use the court. So you can compare, if you're into the competitive part of the fitness piece there. So it's a great piece. We want to place these in spaces where there's good trail connectivity, there's some great connectivity along the wash there. Broadhead Park is also getting one of these facilities too. And then there's a plan going forward to add some in some of the other parks throughout Reno. There's already one in San Rafael and in a park in Sparks. I always forget the name, but there's one in that park as well. So anyway, it's a nice amenity. And again, it's not just slapping down concrete or putting dirt down. It's a usable space that I think will add to the community there in DeMonte Ranch. Next one. And so here's just a kind of a snapshot of upcoming projects for urban forestry. I know that there's been a ton down in South Reno and in Ward 2. One of the big projects, some of you may have heard at Huffaker Park, we had some diseased and dying trees that we did need to pull out, but that will be replanted as soon as the time's appropriate. So that is on the menu. It may not be, I'm not sure if it shows up in here, but it will be on the menu to replace those trees that we did unfortunately have. Oh, there it is. Huffaker Park ash removals in winter of 2024. So they've already been pulled, and then we'll get them replanted as soon as possible to get those regrowing. So yeah, with that, if there's any questions at this point, really appreciate the time, and I'll try not to be a stranger, and we'll definitely be back to talk about Double Diamond and get input from the NAB, and please share with the community that that's coming. So happy to take any questions.
Well, I'm gonna kick off for the question. Do you, can we get this PowerPoint? Do you have it posted somewhere, or can you send it to?
I have it, I can't share
Can
with
you,
everyone.
okay, I think that'd be great. And number two, I hope you're gonna say something about the pool.
Yes. If you want me to do that now, I definitely can, but we're excited to bring the William N. Pennington Moana Springs Community Aquatics and Fitness Center online, starting with a soft opening this weekend, where we're gonna do blocks of folks can come in and try out the pool, give our staff a chance to learn what the flow of traffic will be and what it's like to have 250 to 300 people come in all at once, leave all at once, and really get us prepped for the run. And then it'll be open quietly. We don't want to take the shine off the ribbon cutting on September 3rd, but the facility will be, you heard it here, it will be open this weekend from a soft opening perspective. So we're very, very excited about it. I'm probably not near as excited as Councilmember Dewar, who's been working on this for a long time and really been instrumental in helping bringing it forward, and to the community members who really poured their hearts into it as well. So we're very excited for the opening. It's a beautiful facility. Come down and check it out. I'll be there this weekend. I'll give you a tour. And yeah, see what it takes to get involved and be involved over there. So, and council member, you can probably say it better than me, but that's my quick run.
Just a minute, Ian, we've gotta follow our process, okay?
David.
I'm, for the record, Dave Tinsel. So I have a question and then actually two questions. So first one is, you started the presentation about I think it was a residential construction tax not keeping up with costs. Is anything being done about that, or?
We proposed, I think it was, we looked at a bill, one of our bill drafts, and in the end, the city decided not to do any bills. I don't know if there's a larger effort with like, NACO or somebody, NACO. They changed
So-
the $1,000 to a different effort.
Yeah, I can answer that in a couple different ways. So it's not just down to residential construction tax as far as increasing the fee to be the solution. I think it's definitely worth looking at after 37 years that nothing got cheaper and no additional funding came in from that source. But we have other options, and we have ways that we could utilize that money even without increasing that fee. One of those is to do development impact fees, which we use in other areas. So as a part of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan that was approved in November by council, it provided several different ways to look at this rather than just take RCT and try to push for an increase, which may be painful and fruitless. But we have some other mechanisms that we can use, which we'll bring forward. We did ask to consider a BDR, which is a bill draft review for Nevada statute, to see if maybe we could open this up as maybe it's a regional funding source. We also have worked with developers to, instead of requiring or asking the city to build parks, asking the developers to build their own neighborhood parks and maintain them through the HOAs so that there isn't a burden added to the city. So if that's the case and we can kind of make that the norm going forward, maybe $1,000 used regionally could build projects and bring projects online and build something like Pembroke flat fields, you know, where we need a lot of flat fields. It's a better bang for the buck to build a large project than a bunch of small projects from a maintenance standpoint and ongoing standpoint. So there's different ways that we'll look at it. The first step was to look at a BDR. We're also going to bring forward what it would take from a development impact fee standpoint, which the city does have control over and has flexibility to set the amount there. So, and then there's also things like the park district, which could be an option to look at in the future. So there's no one thing that we have to settle in on as the solution, but I think we have to bring them all forward and just be aware of, especially be aware of where we're at right now and why we're at where we're at right now.
Okay, and then my second question is, that light that's put in by the pool, why was that ever considered to be a roundabout? It just doesn't seem like that ever would meet signal warrants for a signal.
So it doesn't have to warrant, so for everybody, generally you have to have, I wanna say it's 1,000 feet between a light, to have another light.
And also the amount of traffic.
No, but why it was put in is that, if you look at the pool entrance and exit, you can only turn a right in coming down Moana going towards a freeway, so going east, it's a right in, and it's a right out. So the thing is that if you wanna go the other way, where do you go? So there's an exit at the back of the pool coming down the street, Baker, and that's gonna be for all the people turning left. And if we have a whole bunch of people leaving at the same time, they can never get out onto Moana. So mostly it's green going down Moana. But I haven't had to stop there, I drive Moana.
I haven't hit it.
You haven't hit a green yet?
No, I haven't either.
Well, maybe the signal timing has to be adjusted. Okay, so.
Was a roundabout considered?
I
That's
don't
a
know.
safer, it's a safer traffic control device
You know,
for slow speeds.
I was just informed they liked going in, but do you know? Nathan?
I do not know. Sorry. And my degree's in recreation and leisure. So it's hard for me sometimes to answer the traffic study questions, but I know that was considered since I did start about 16, 18 months ago and most of the design work was done. So I really couldn't tell you specifically there, but it's a fair question.
Well, I guess I would like an answer. I'm a civil engineer, retired from Nevada Department of Transportation, and I know something about signal warrants and efficient traffic control devices, and it just seems like that would scream roundabout, not a traffic signal, and it's a shame that all that money was wasted if it doesn't meet warrants especially.
Well, perhaps could you send that in like via Tyler or Reno Direct, and they'll probably get an answer from our engineering department.
I can connect you, I think it was an RTC project, so I can connect you with the detail.
I thought it was Harry Kosky.
I think. Maybe I'll look into it, I'll figure out who it is that can get you the answer on roundabout versus lane. Yeah.
Audrey?
Hi, I specifically asked for information on the parks for Ward 2 for some very basic reasons. I was looking for the schedule where you're going to be upgrading the Ward 2 parks. For example, I think what I just heard was you don't have funding to replace playgrounds. And I want to know where is that schedule to replace playgrounds? I've provided the board several images of the local playground in the back of your packet, where the playground material is absolutely shredded. It is not safe, and some of your staff literally put up plywood to block the slide that was used from another project. My neighbors want to know what the heck is going on and how do we improve our local parks? Because I didn't hear any of that. I heard a lot of new building, but I didn't hear how do we reinvest in our existing parks. That park has cracks in the walkways.
Which park is this on?
This is Wheatland Park, next to
Oh.
Wheatland Grade School, and
Yeah.
a lot of the parents at Wheatland were very interested tonight. That's what the sidewalks are doing, really dangerous, and somebody's spray painting caution signs. I mean, it's really shocking, but how do we reinvest in our existing parks? And what's the schedule to do it, and where's the funding coming from?
Thank you for the question and thanks for being an advocate for your neighbors and for the park. The challenge is, and if we can go back to slide 8, I don't know if maybe we don't need to, but we have another funding mechanism that council has been consistently funding and increasing, especially over the last 3 to 4 years. And council member, correct me if I'm wrong, if this prior to that, but a separate capital fund, maintenance fund for parks. So, and that is the replacement fund. It's not huge yet. It's not as big as a fleet maintenance or anything like that, or fire apparatus maintenance. But it is, at this point, we have $2 million in that fund. And a part of it is it's generically placed, but concrete repairs and path repairs. So to answer that part, that should be on the schedule over this next 12 months. I know that it's a challenge to keep up with those cracks, but this is where we're starting. And hopefully in my time, I saw 400,000 my first year. And then this year it was bumped to 700,000 for capital maintenance repairs. So it's growing. I know that there's a tension there. As far as slide replacements and playground replacements, one of the challenges is that most of our playgrounds are aged to a level where there's not just a shelf that we can call and they have it waiting for us for a slide replacement. So if a slide gets damaged, you know, it could take 6 to 12 months for a turnaround because it has to be fabricated. There's very few vendors across the country that do it. So the best thing that you can do to help us that is if you start to see something wearing out, like you did with the padding, which it's not that we're unaware there, it's just on a list of priorities, but the playgrounds do take a long time. So when you see, and we hate it, it's very frustrating to us too. But sometimes that lead time for fabricated slides is what really slows us down on playground replacement. We do have a facility index schedule, which I would be happy to come back and share, or have one of our staff members come back and share if there's a specific question on the park. On the padding that you showed specifically, it is absolutely unsightly. I will look into what it would take to get those replaced and get those ordered. They're not at, we'll probably disagree on this, but they're not at what would call an unsafe level. It's not great. It looks terrible, but it's not a safety concern from a playground inspection standpoint. It's just not good looking. Unless again, there's something I'm missing there, but I did ask staff to see what we could find out about those. So I can get you an update on that once we figure out where that is, but those are some of the challenges with maintaining it. Our parks budget, you may or may not know, I know council members aware, was about $23 million in 2008. And through the recession, it was reduced down to significantly less. And right now we're with Moana, $18 million for an expenditure budget. Again, it's been a challenge to find funding as everything gets more expensive and the dollars have to stretch further. So with that, we will do our best. And again, please help us continue to notice these things and share. It's not fun to hear, but it's important for us to know what you're seeing in the parks. As we have 87 parks and 16 maintainers that go into those parks on a daily basis. So they're all doing 6 or 7 parks a day. So your vision helps to share where we need to correct those things as quickly as possible. The other thing we're doing, and council approved a fund development position to look at ways where we can get the community involved, to get from grassroots effort in your own community to sponsorships through local organizations, donor groups, and then also our corporate neighbors and residents here to help support our park system, where while we know RCT isn't going to do all of these repairs, the residential construction tax, we could look at other opportunities for that non-revenue based non-operational revenue to help offset and repair some of these spaces. So we just hired that position, and it'll be moving forward to try to connect folks who do really, really care about their community and want to make a difference and put their park ahead of schedule on the replacements and things like that. to give them a mechanism to do that.
One more ongoing question. What about, public-private partnerships on specific parks? For example, I just pick on Wheatland because I live next door to it. But the community that's surrounding that, can we do some sort of, grassroots fundraisers specifically for, pick a park, whatever it is? And then that gets, there's a fundraiser and the goal is to replace all the playground equipment, whatever it is.
Yes, and that's, I was trying to say that, and I think you said it better than I did, but that will be the goal. One of the goals of the fund development position is to give you an opportunity, and get a sign made that said, hey, friends of Wheatland Park, and we're raising money to replace X or this amenity, and have a fund set aside to start pushing that forward. So that is a goal of this position, to get the community involved in the solution. So yes, great idea. And that's what we will be trying to do over the next 3 to 4 months to get those starting to roll.
Thank you.
Donna?
Donna Keats, for the record, on your great presentation, by the way, thank you. On your
Thank you.
upcoming projects and urban forestry slide, is that everything in the city? Or is it, are they selected down to specific area? I mean, that your citywide plan?
It's
Like
it's not everything. It's some of the larger pieces in the rotations. It's certainly not going to be the kind of reactionary responsive pieces. But it is a significant amount, especially understanding the pruning rotation, because there's only so much we can do there. We have, just so you're aware, we have 4 maintainers, a supervisor, and a senior tech to do 24 to 27,000 trees, depending on which report I'm reading. So we are blessed to have an absolute genius and passion, a person with great passion for urban forestry in Matt Basil. So we've got the right people here. It's just how long do we get around? So there is more. And if you're interested in finding out more, the Urban Forestry Commission gets a little bit more detailed updates. So would encourage you to attend those as you have time.
So is Virginia Lake Park under your purview?
It is, yes.
So things like my neighbors have been calling in the out of control invasive weeds around the park. I mean, they call it into Reno Direct, or I don't know where they call it, but they told me about it. Like, how do you get action on stuff like that?
You said that out of control weeds?
Yeah, or invasive. This is what I'm told. A couple of my neighbors have noticed it repeatedly and reported it on Reno Direct.
Okay.
And then said, well, but nothing's happened. I called in, twice, 3 weeks ago, and I never see anybody. And before you know it, they're everywhere. And I did look at it recently. I don't know if they're doing anything at this moment, but last week it really looked awful.
Okay, no, that's good feedback. I can look into that. It's the challenge with weeds is they pop up everywhere all at once, but it is good to know where it's starting, especially where our parks are busier. We want to keep good stuff continuing to look good and not fall into disrepair. It's easier to do that than to try to play catch up. So if it got put into, I'm sorry,
Starting to look kind of tattered, like it kind of needs some help.
okay. I'll look into that, and I'll follow up with Tyler.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But you're doing the right thing with ServiceNow. That's the way to report it and get it tracked and get responses about when it's going to happen. There's been we've been down 1 staff person in our parks department who manages the ServiceNow. So our parks manager is trying to keep up with those. So apologies for the delay. But I will get you an answer.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Dave Tinsel for the record. Can you talk about what's that annual subsidized tree giveaway that's under fall of 2024?
Sure. I don't have the date off the top of my head. Councilmember Dura, you may know, but we have been giving away.
October.
Go ahead.
It's usually in October. We generally work with the Arbor Day Foundation. Some years we've partnered with Moana Nursery. I don't think we're doing that this year. We usually provide 5 different kinds of trees. They're generally $15 to $20 a tree. I think you could get 1, maybe 2 trees. I have encouraged them to expand from 300 trees because they usually get reserved within 24 hours of the announcement. And that's what I'm really struggling with, Nathan, is how do we get to like 500 trees? You know, as a next step, we've been doing 300 trees for like the last 5 years. And again, the trees just go, originally we allowed people to buy more than one tree, but just to get 300 families a tree, we kind of went to one per family, so.
Well, I participated in that earlier and got a tree and I love it.
You love it?
It's an awesome tree. It's
Yeah.
going crazy. So congratulations, thank you.
And Nathan, maybe make sure before Matt sets a amount of trees, maybe I can donate some of my council funds to make that, you know, expand it or something.
Okay,
I did have a question to ask.
Are there any other comments from the board? Seeing no other comments, Madam Chair, do we have a public commenter? Ian, go ahead.
My name is Ian. And I was curious about the pool. Is that the pool that is across the street from Ballpark Market?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. Okay.
Thank you, Nathan, so much for that fantastic presentation. It was great to have you join our meeting today. Very informative. I think we all learned a lot about our parks and about the funding today. And so that, you know, with us being park people and arborists and tree people, that it gives us a good insight on, you know, and some of how to move forward with what we want to do in Ward 2 and who we have a contact, and we've got your information now. So thank you so much. And good
sure. No,
luck
thank
tonight.
you. Thanks for being an advocate for your community. And I'll follow up with Tyler on the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right, we're gonna go, we have somebody here from the Reno Police.
They were scheduled to be here tonight, but I think they have to dash out and
We
we have a disclaimer with them.
Yes, we
They might
understand.
have to run out, but I'll reach out and see if we can get them to come back next month.
Okay.
Since they weren't able to come today, so we're gonna skip ahead to item
B3 then.
three.
It's a Neighborhood Advisory Board Resolution Update. Welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm done again on the council relations manager. So I manage is on campus with Tyler, as you mentioned, very bittersweet to promote within, which we're very grateful for. And then I know some of you had the opportunity to meet Jennifer at the beginning, but she's our most recent hire on the community liaison team. So I just wanted to introduce her because she will likely be running the NAB with Tyler's support next month. So, hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. But anyway, I'm here really to talk about updating the NAB resolution, get any feedback that you might have, answer any questions that you will have regarding this resolution update. So here is a little background and timeline of the NABs. They started in 1994, and there have been a few updates to the resolution since then. As you know, council adopted the ordinance to create a sixth ward in September of last year. And so in preparation for that, we need to make sure that the sixth ward has an up and running NAB. And so in the month of August, since you are my last stop on the NAB tour for August, I'm presenting, getting feedback so that we can provide that to council. I will then take this in September next month for them to consider the new resolution. The new board boundaries will go in effect after the canvas of vote in November. Okay. So these are kind of the must-dos for the changes in the resolution related to those 6 boards being added. So that first one is the effective date of the resolution. This is to ensure that the new resolution goes into effect at the same time the old one is repealed and the new ward boundaries go into effect. So everything kind of happens in one fell swoop at the same time. The second one is the actual creation of the Ward 6 NAB. Our current resolution only lists 5. So make sure that each ward has a functioning NAB or is able to have a functioning NAB. Updating the ward map reference to include the new and updated ward map that includes that 6th ward in the resolution. It's an attachment, so just reflecting that. And then the last one there is probably the most poignant here is the impact of the transition to 6th ward on city NAB members, what that looks like as far as your eligibility and a transition plan into the new wards. So on the next slide, we'll talk about this a little bit more and I'll go through a couple of scenarios. I know that it does impact quite a few of you on this now, so if you have specific questions about how this might impact you, please feel free to connect with me, I'll hang out a little bit after. But in general, the new board boundaries will go into effect in November. I'll start here on the left side. If you live in a different ward, after the redistricting process and you want to serve on a different NAB, we would ask that you submit your resignation to your staff liaison, for now Tyler, or you can send it to nabs@reno.gov. And then you would apply through the regular process to become a member of the new NAB. If you live in a different ward and you want to continue to serve on your current ward, you're eligible to continue serving on the NAB. As a reminder, all NAB members serve at the pleasure of the council member, corresponding with that, ward. But you're eligible to continue serving on your NAB for the remainder of your term. So we're not going to force you out necessarily. It'll be up to you whether you want to submit your resignation or continue to serve for the remainder of your term. And then, of course, if you live in the same ward and you want to continue to serve, we're happy to have you, and you're eligible for the remainder of your term.
So I have a question on this, Jenica. So let's say I'm taking over as part of Ward 2, a lot of Ward 1, and Ward 1 has a NAB. But now Ward 1 will be downtown. So there's people living in what's called Ward 1, but they'll be in Ward 2. How are they affected by this?
So they are affected, so they will remain on the Ward 1 NAB. And
That is in downtown.
until they submit their resignation, they'll remain on that
Okay.
agenda.
So, and then if they wanted to join the Ward 2 NAB,
They would submit their resignation and then apply to be on the Ward 2 now.
Gotcha.
Through the regular process, we would,
Review
let
that.
us know, and it
Gotcha.
would be agendized to council, and then you would appoint your now
Gotcha.
members.
So, excuse me, I have a question.
Sure.
So, from what I understand, I think that you pointed me that I'm not in Ward 2 now, but I will be in Ward 2
Right.
later. Is that my status?
well, where do you live?
On Humboldt Street, just on the other side of Urban.
Yeah, so that'll be part of Ward 2.
Okay,
so
but right
you're
now
all
it's not,
synced up.
right?
What?
Right now, it's not in Ward 2.
No, but you will be all synced up. You don't have to do anything
Okay,
if you want to stay on this NAB.
okay, thank you. Got it.
And I have a list of everyone,
Oh.
based off of the addresses that you used in your applications. So I can show you exactly where we have you, recorded now, and then based off of your address on your application, where you're registered into.
I'm gonna say virtually everybody I see except Roman and Mimi are in the new Ward 2. Even you, Bombay Lane is, Lake Ridge is, you would be, Donna is, Audra is, so there's other people, Stan is. So almost everybody, but there are people that you're welcome to stay, both, Roman and Mimi. Or you could resign and go apply to be in Ward 6. Yeah.
So as we were, and by we, I mean mainly Tyler, taking a dive into reviewing this, resolution, we noted several other changes, that will just make, that will allow for more continuity, across all of the NAB. So that first one is eligibility requirement. So this clarifies some ambiguous language. Specifically, we wanted to ensure that as a NAB member, you are allowed to serve on other City of Reno boards and commissions. However, we wouldn't, at this time, staff is not recommending that you be allowed to serve on 2 neighborhood advisory boards. So for example, if you want to continue to serve on this and also Ward 1, we wouldn't recommend that at this time.
Or Ward 6.
Yeah, Ward 6, yeah. That next one is alternate member provisions. This is just clarifying some language here. I think alternates, correct me if I'm not wrong, Tyler, it was in 6 different sections in our current resolution. So we're just combining that, bringing it into one section, topically organized, as well as, indicating that if you are an alternate, in order to become a full sitting member, you would just go through the regular appointment process and apply to become a full member. That third one, absence removal clause, this is essentially a no call, no show. You want to make sure that the neighborhood advisory boards are full of active and engaged participants. And so if someone doesn't call, let your staff liaison know, or the council liaison know, or the chair know, 3 times in a row, that they may be removed from the body. The fourth one, applicability of RMC 2.20. This is the Reno Municipal Code of Ethics. And so as public appointees, we just wanted to highlight that you are subject to that, and can review that as well. Presiding officer selection responsibilities. This is creating consistency across all NABs. We're recommending that each NAB, elect a chair and a vice chair at the first meeting of the year, in order to ensure some consistency across all the boards.
Is that calendar year or fiscal year?
The first regularly scheduled meeting of the year, so.
But which, but
Calendar year.
January.
Just some other, little cleanup and administrative changes. We took a lot of these from other City of Reno boards and commissions. The first one, we're putting gendered language. This is in line with our, efforts to be more inclusive and our brand standards. The second one, combining provisions related to development projects, much like alternates. This is across 3 different sections, so organizing it topically. Clarifying language related to term limits. Our current resolution mentions staggered terms because many board members were terming out at the same time, and so we had to include language that worked to resolve those issues. We don't need that anymore. So eliminating that. Clarifying resignation protocol. This is really just to codify what we already asked of members when they do wish to resign, is to send an email to NAB@reno.gov or to your staff liaison. So we can get that lodged with the city clerk. Clarifying that service on the NAB is uncompensated. We pulled this from the HRC. Outlining the duties of the chair and vice chair. We took this from council rules. So just that you are the presiding officer. If the chair is not there, the vice chair runs the meeting. If there is no vice chair or chair, then you would elect the, presiding officer for that specific meeting. Clarifying agenda creation process. Right now, it indicates that the chair, in conjunction with the staff liaison and council liaison, determine the agenda, and we really feel, it's an agendized item that the entire body would give input on future agenda items, so we just included that, a little adjustment there. And then our standard legal disclaimers. I'm happy to answer any questions. My contact is up here, and then any feedback you might have.
Yes, Jenny. Could you go back to the prior slide, please? Sure. What gendered language are you referring to?
Sure, this would be saying, for example, instead of saying she or he, his or her, we just say they, their, them.
Where? On the agenda?
In the resolution.
Or the resolution? It has nothing to do with anything we're reading tonight.
No.
Thank you.
Do we have,
And 1 second.
Are there any other questions of board members?
Can you put your contact slide back up?
Any other questions?
And again, if you have specific questions about how this might affect you specifically, I'm happy to hang out and answer that.
Wait, Ian.
my name is Eli Hunt, and I would like to ask, do you guys have a business card?
Mr. Shaw certainly does. I have a virtual one, and you can have that. I have a digital one
Okay.
that you can scan QR code.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate your information. It was very timely. Some of us have been wondering what we're gonna do.
Yes, we've been getting some questions about it, so prepping for November.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item C, board commission and committee member reports and announcements. Is there anybody have anything to report, announce, comment on today? Audrey?
I want to thank, Councilwoman Dewar, and, you had a hard summer. But I want to tell you that, I filed an appeal. The NAB was presented with the Ranchera development. And, we just approved in the minutes in April. I filed an appeal after speaking, at the, planning commission. And we were successful in that appeal. The community stood up and said, we're not destroying the trees. You're not destroying our HOA front entry. And that was a big deal. We had a good turnout, and it was quite tumultuous at the council.
Yeah.
I would say everybody kind of looked at that and went, wow, it was pretty hectic. But at the end, we got 4 points, 4 conditions added. And really, I want to thank you because You helped make that happen and supported it and, wouldn't have happened without you. So again, thank you.
I want to make a comment on one of the things. So one of the issues that they brought up was they wanted a third entrance into Ranchera. So it's really about fire. And I just wanted to mention something. So recently we had a fire at Gold Ranch or Quillisi. And this is out right over a project we approved at council for 3,000 homes right there. 3,000 homes aren't built today. There's a very few long-standing older homes nearby. One of those long-standing older homes burned. I happen to know the person. Susan Fisher, yeah. Anyway, I voted no on that project. And the reason I voted no was primarily due to fire risk. I had done a PSA, which is a public service announcement, out on Quillisi Road with the fire chief, talking about the fire danger right there. There had been 6 fires that primarily, not all, but most were started by target practice. And so I was familiar with the area. I advocated that there be 3 entrances. There's 3,000 homes, that's 9,000 people. And they only have 2 entrances. And I wanted another entrance, bridge over the river that exists, but it needs to be upgraded. It's owned by MB Energy and no one really responded to my issue. Today, if that fire was in the exact same spot, which was started by car, jumped over the road and the river into this Quillisi area, burned literally 2/3 of the area where the houses would have been. I think we would have been evacuating all of those people. 9,000 people on average off 2 roads, all at the same time. So what I've suggested, when this Title 18 is going to be discussed on Wednesday, not the final, but a discussion. And I already brought up to staff today that one of the things I'm going to recommend is that as the size of development scale up, that they have to have more and more entrances. So for example, it might be like for 500 homes, you have 2. And I think in Ranchera, there's like 500 or 600 or 400.
Well, it's planned for 722
Right.
homes.
So in that case, let's say it was 722, they would have had to have a third entrance in my scenario. Maybe it would have gone from 500 homes to 1,500 homes. I don't know. And then if you get bigger, like 3,000 homes, maybe they would have had to have 4. And so I already brought up to staff today that I'd like to see it discussed in Title 18 and us to start amending. And I brought it up in light of the Ranchera because we didn't approve that as one of your appeal requests.
Right.
They asked for a third entrance. There was originally planned to be a third entrance off Ranchera, but they hadn't been built. And now they're building the final development village. The entrance is right there and they don't want to build it. And you know, I'm like, I have no tools. No tools to say you need more evacuation routes.
Right.
So this fire this time really made me get energized to the fact that we have Title 18 coming in right now. Is I'm gonna ask them to scale up the number of entrances based on the number of homes, not just 2.
I will support that.
Yeah?
Okay, so they decided we don't have to build a firehouse there,
Not yet?
in that area.
No,
I thought they.
That was on the
Here, let's
agenda.
Give you $100,000 for a truck.
300,000. So there was a
300 trucks, but
proposal,
no
let me just
firehouse.
explain. There was a proposal from our staff on this very same place, the Santerra Quillisi development. One of the things was they had to build a house and dedicate that to being an interim fire station. And they wanted a 2-person crew, which is basically most of your calls are for medical. So this would have been a 2-person paramedic type crew. The fire department doesn't like that. They have 4-person crews. So they would have objected. But the proposal from our staff was to take the money that was slated and they just came up with a random 300,000 that was based on nothing. I said, a house out there, just the house alone is gonna be like 700,000. Why are we talking about 300,000? So, and we would have had use of that house for many years, so we would have gotten most of the value of that house. They wanted to do away with the house and to take 300,000 just randomly selected and put that into buying an ambulance for South Reno. So out of Station 12, which they need that. But they don't need it at the expense of this area, which literally it was just discussed about 2 months ago, maybe. And here we have a fire right here. I mean, right here. It covered the entire Quillisi project, at least 2/3, 3/4 of it, the property. So, you know, I happen to be serving as mayor that day, or vice mayor. And I suggested we continue that item. I didn't, even though it was going to my ward from Ward 5, I wanna say. I didn't like the plan because, you know, I care about all the wards and I didn't think this was well thought out. So there were a number of other council members had questions as well, so we tabled it. And I've asked the staff, you know, if you have a plan, come back with it, but you know, think it all
I
through.
just saw Angela, I saw the presentation, I saw the item.
Yeah.
And Angela.
Was
said-
Angela Fuson the fire
Yeah,
chief?
I'd say, well, you know, this way we get $300,000, but the other way we might end up with nothing. I mean, it
Well,
was just crazy.
I didn't understand because there is a condition that
There's a
requires the
condition.
use of
They
this
were trying
home
to
and the
undo it,
paramedic station and so on.
because they were trying to undo it, because it was cheaper. I mean, it's pretty simple.
So,
But I thought it went through.
no,
No.
absolutely did not go through.
Well, now that there's been a fire, maybe council will see the light of.
Well, I don't think we need to have yet another fire. Hopefully,
No, I
this
mean, now
fire
that
was
we've
a
had
good enough
one-
example.
No, that's what I'm saying. Now
Yeah.
that we've had a fire, maybe they'll understand.
Yes.
I mean, I lost power, you probably did too. I lost
Look,
power
people
for a
weren't
while.
real happy with me for voting no, but I kept saying. We need to recognize the fire danger here. It's in the river corridor. It's very windy. Though the winds kind of come zipping
Yep.
through on a kind of a curve. It's timbered, it's flammable, it's already had 6 fires. I mean, now it's had 7. You know, I thought it was a strong case.
Yeah.
You know, but to do something like that, you know, it's gotta really be dealt with at the planning commission and your colleagues also need to agree with you. And they did in this case, so.
No, I know.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna remind everybody, remember this, I'm sorry, I'll say it, this discussion, but remember, the entrance and the end of it. So we were looking in that same area at the width.
Are you talking which one, Santara and Quilisi or something else?
Yeah, I think those were in Ontario, but remember they were.
Oh, Ranchero,
And we were talking about the width there, that
Right.
you couldn't necessarily even get 2 cars through there.
Right.
What are you gonna do when you get a fire
correct.
truck through? So we- I'm just saying, we've gotta be aware that there are absolutely related issues.
Well,
that-
One more issue, Audrey had let me know that the fire, there was a medical emergency, fire couldn't get through that entrance at Talbot Gate. They spent what, another 5-10 minutes going around
Yep.
and to, off Neil Road, Kitsky Road rather.
Yeah.
And, that took another 5 or 10 minutes. If that was a heart attack, that would have been a major problem. They're supposed to have under 5-minute response time. It turns out, so I actually met with the fire chief after that one to say what went wrong. Why couldn't you get through that entrance? And they had some mess up with the key code. They got it all fixed, they swear to me, but you know. Hopefully they did have it all fixed.
Are there any other updates from the board members?
Thank you, Chad. All right, future agenda items? Anybody have anything that they'd like to see on the future agenda items?
Well, maybe out of scope, but, for the future, Ward 2 boundaries. I'm very interested in seeing, more detailed information about the redevelopment agency board activation and the TIF funding. I have a lot of questions about that and, I think people don't really understand it. I got the impression that half the people on council don't really understand it. And I'm not even certain that the assistant city manager understood all the little fine tuning ramifications of it. So I think that's something that all of us should know more about. Cause that's what's gonna be happening and where the money comes from and all that.
So that's a good idea. I mean, to have that as an agenda item.
Just to inform people
Yeah.
who don't even know it exists and
I mean, the Reno development area comes all the way down from South Virginia and it does currently touch Ward 2. There's a little slice, so on the, let me just get this right, on the east side of Virginia Lake from that point over
yeah, like
is now gonna go to Ward 3. Okay, right now, you know,
right now it's part of,
yeah, and I think the Atlantis is not, even though the Atlantis is in Ward 2, Atlantis is not in redevelopment agency, as I recall. From the
Right.
map, but anyway, I think it would be good, just so people know, it's being brought back to life,
Information, like everybody should be informed of what all this is.
what it is,
It's,
yeah.
it's a big deal. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of wheeling and dealing behind.
What
that.
did they say, 400 million, or was it a
Something like that. I don't know. And that's all hypothetical funds, assuming that the city center and
Yeah.
Jacobs and people start actually producing something which they haven't. So who knows, but that's something I think everybody who touches anywhere near downtown, all over the world, ought to have some idea about what all that's about, pay attention to it.
So is that about what Jacobs is doing? Is that what you're? asking
No,
for?
it's about the city of Reno redevelopment agency, that just.
So what redevelopment basically is, to take an area and you set it aside, you draw boundaries around it, and as it's given a certain life. It's not forever, but it could be 45 years, let's say. If there's development in there, the taxes basically can stay in there to be reinvested. And so they put together 5 pots. It could be a city project. Could be a private project that needs a boost. There are categories that have been proposed, well, actually were approved. Was a 4-3 vote, so 3 of us were not sure this was fully baked. But that doesn't mean it's broken, it just needs some further discussion.
What areas?
So there's 2 big areas, one is basically downtown. And they'll show us maps.
Okay.
And the other one goes all the way from downtown, all the way down to Summit, I think. I think,
I don't think that's
Or
so far, but I could be wrong.
maybe it's halfway between, it's just south of Atlantis, I think,
Yeah.
actually. So when building occurs in these areas, it generates tax dollars. Those tax dollars can stay in that area for use in developing. It could be parks. It could be a stadium. Could be, some kind of public different project, transportation project.
Mostly it hasn't been though.
What's that?
Mostly it hasn't been that kind of stuff.
No, it has. I mean, when you look at the bowling stadium, the ball stadium, the baseball stadium.
We're still paying $1 million a year.
What's
for it.
that?
That the city's still paying them $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million a year. But anyway, I think it would be a good topic. It's just so you're all more informed. It's a big emerging topic.
Well, I'd be interested in that, and especially if I guess, and I don't know if we can ask for it, since I don't think it's in Ward 2, but like, what is Jacobs doing with all those parking lots that they're building
Making more
downtown?
parking lots.
Is that out of our purview?
Well, it's out of our purview. When our ward boundaries change, we're gonna go right up to the river, so we'll be nearby. So I think Idlewild is in, but Wingfield's in, not in, us. So I think that's where the line is, but anyway. You're always welcome to go to the Ward 1 now. Also, everybody from the
And bring
public.
back the information.
Yeah,
You'll be our spot.
I have a question, because we didn't really get to talk through your point of view. I remember, Naomi, you were talking about that you wanted your emphasis to be about parks for the next couple of years. What do you think about, how do we fund the parks, from the council point of view, but also how do we get these parks properly maintained?
so we could put that on an agenda as well.
Yeah.
So we could take the part of Nathan's presentation that's about revenue generation. He scanned over it.
Yeah.
We can do a deeper dive. You're also welcome to go to the Parks Commission. Sounds like it's happening on our same day, unfortunately. But there's one thing he didn't talk about, and that is I have proposed a ballot initiative that is separate from all the things he talked about. And one thing he also skipped over that you might not have fully grasped is that when they say we have a development person, what that means is we have in parks now a person to go find money. And they've just been hired. They exist. It's another internal transfer in the city. Landon Miller, you know him. He's going to be the guy who beats the drum to get money for the parks, any way, whether it's private dollars, setting up a park district, doing a ballot initiative, whatever it is, he's gonna be the point person on this. We could have him come and talk, but he will be very new in his job. I mean, I think he starts in a week or a day or next Monday or whatever. But
We'll give him a few days
a few days,
Yeah.
get his feet under
to
him.
get it.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question for you. You've mentioned several times this Title 18 update. Does that mean next Wednesday at council?
This coming Wednesday,
Tomorrow? Wait, today's.
I'm sorry, a week from now.
Okay, next, okay.
Okay,
So-
and they put out the 700-page rounding document. They told me it includes horses, it includes trees, it includes a wide variety of topics.
Was this at direction of council to go find everything that needs updating in Title 18 or?
You know what? I think it grew. I think it started as fixing all the little broken pieces that were
Wait,
inconsistent.
is this the text amendment stuff?
Yeah.
So they're gonna add, because that wasn't part of the text amendment.
Well, they originally said they were gonna, what she told me today is they're doing the low hanging fruit on trees. They're adding horse stuff that is desperately needs to be done. So. It doesn't include, for example, the ADUs, which are the accessory dwelling units. That's on its own path.
They've
does-
already been 3 times with the text amendments to planning commission.
Donna, are you
So-
asking us to be on our next agenda, or are we just having a discussion about an item on the city council agenda?
Okay, I'll stop.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay.
Yeah. Councilwoman Dura, would you be happy to meet with Donna? Continue your guys'.
Oh, absolutely. I love Donna's input on
Exactly.
regulations.
You always have great ideas, Donna, and great insight on so many things, so thank you. Anybody that wants more information on.
But it's not a bad idea to also put on the agenda here because you either have to participate at the city council. I don't know where they are on stakeholder involvement and all this at this point.
Perhaps we can get some information on that would
Yeah.
be great.
Especially after the council meeting, we'll have new thoughts in the direction this is all going.
The one thing I wanted to find out is, what about a fall neighborhood cleanup?
Great idea.
So since summer's over, we're going into fall, does the board have an appetite for looking for a location and a date for another neighborhood a neighborhood cleanup?
So the Tyler Shaw community gave something for the record, the last couple rounds of cleanups have been handled by our housing and neighborhood development department in partnership with council and of course Councilmember Dewar. They're looking at dates and locations right now.
These are two different things, I think. So the hazardous waste pickup is not what you're talking about, right?
No,
But that is what you're talking
Yes.
but
that's what I was-
I think we need to have, I think that would be great.
about. So we have one just set October 18th for hazardous waste. In other words, we're gonna have this down at Demonte Ranch High School. And you can bring your e-waste, hazardous waste, regular trash, paint cans, gasoline, batteries, all the things. October 18th. So look for that. This is more like go to Virginia Lake and pick up trash. Now, there is the Great Reno Cleanup that's sponsored by KTMB. And that is also coming up. We could do something, many organizations get together during that time and pick a spot under their umbrella. They bring all the equipment. That might be a great idea. Maybe we could. It's probably, I know we're gonna be planting trees again on that day.
Yeah, I mean, we could send you the information for the KTMB cleanups that are already planned, as well as the contact information for the cleanup coordinator.
Great. And then the e-waste, is that, how do people get information on that?
So usually what they do is they postcard the area that's within a few blocks.
Okay,
And then they put it out both in the NAB, you guys, some of you get the newsletter for the NAB, I think.
Yeah,
It puts it out there. Often it gets picked up by media.
and the date for the Ward 2 cleanup, it's the 12th.
Oh, did I say
Yes.
the wrong thing? I'm
It's
sorry.
okay, it's October 12th, not October 18th, but it's
Sorry.
October 12th at Demonte Ranch High School.
and that's ours.
Yes, that's the Ward 2 cleanup. They'll have haz waste and waste as well as regular waste management.
Is there a flyer for that?
Yeah, they're gonna be.
Send to. our-
Not yet. They just told me the date.
Okay.
And I already got it wrong.
There will be a flyer, and I'll make sure to send it to all the NAB members, as well as the email list for the Ward 2 neighborhood advisory board, which has.
So there's three things. There is every ward gets a cleanup day, which they call it neighborhood cleanup day. I've asked them to change the name. It implies something that it is not. It means you can bring your trash to us. We're not collecting your trash. You're bringing it to us. That is October 12th. Okay. A neighborhood cleanup that we would do, and we would get more people to help us. We would sponsor. So businesses sponsor them, all kind of, I was just on KTMB website to see when this day is, because they have a thing on events. Get involved, what we do.
Keep truck driving out all those vehicles.
They're having Saturday morning cleanups,
Thank you.
one thing, regular ones. Here we go, events. 2024 events. So it's on September 21, got it. It's called KTMB's Truckee River Cleanup, however. It's events all over the city. And we could certainly be part of that. It's on the 21st, 9 to 12. It's calling it a river cleanup. This one actually is river, from Verdi to Wadsworth. Volunteer signups will be announced soon. Sign up on the KTMB. Okay. The next one is their Christmas tree recycling. Maybe it's the one and they haven't announced, but that'll be 2025. Will be this 30 different sites throughout Reno. And we could certainly, in the next go round, sponsor one of those 30.
Yeah.
And it's a great idea, because then we have much less organizing to do. More people will come
Yeah.
and help us.
I like that idea.
Okay, I do too. And then meantime, feel free, if you're motivated to volunteer at this September 21st river cleanup. I mean, it's in just a month. Perfect timing. You just sign up on their website and view events, okay, and you're ready to roll.
Thank you.
For any other future agenda items? Stan, do you have anything? You hear us, Stan?
Oh, no, I don't have anything. I'm glad I could zoom in. I'm hoping I can be there next month.
Great,
Thank you, Stan.
Thanks, Stan.
Any public comment?
Madam Chair, I don't have anyone who's registered to give public comment here in the room. Is there anyone who'd like to close a public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give closing public comment? If you'd like to give closing public comment by Zoom, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom window.
All right, seeing that. All right, anybody would like to make a motion to adjourn? Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Meeting adjourned.